Welcome back to the Lub Dub podcast. I am one half of your host, McFly, joined by my lovely wife,
Erica.
So here on this channel, we bring you content on parenting, relationships, and everything in between. And today we have a bit of a wild card. As you can tell by the title, we're going to talk about love in the time of Corona. So, as you guys are probably aware of, there has been a little mini series thing released. I'm going to give you a quick little breakdown about that miniseries and go over some of our thoughts on it and if it really does relate and compare to real life. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Erica.
So the show is kind of like a Love Actually type of show where, you know, it's like different vignettes of relationships.
What was that word you used?
Vignette.
Oh, nerd. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Of different couples and relationships. And then they kind of somewhat, you know, intertwine in some way. They're some way connected. So I believe it was like around 5 couples. Yeah, around 5 couples.
We should know.
Well, I mean, there's families too, so it's not just like
the ones are
couples.
The parents of the one couple,
right? And then there's one where they're technically friends, but not right. Okay. So it's like around 5, whatever. But we thought there was some interesting stuff in there, so it kind of plays a little bit like it's a romantic comedy, kind of. Not that funny though.
It's like a Lifetime movie.
Yes, I was about to say that. Lifetime. Like Lifetime, Hallmark.
No offense, but they're just
movie.
You know
but
how those
love
movies
them.
feel. I do not.
I love them. They touch a soft spot in your heart sometimes. You know, especially around Christmas time and. I like my Hallmark
I'll
movie.
Be Home for Christmas movies.
Of course.
With the C-list actors.
Or princesses getting married on Christmas Day. Of course.
It's not my life. I'm sorry. I can't relate to princesses getting married on Christmas Day. Anyways, continue.
So what's really cool about it is that, one, they were able to film it, but most of them are actually like real families. And I guess they're technically just real families of actors, right? Mm-hmm.
Cool. That was cool.
Yeah. So that was really awesome to see. And I wouldn't say they're the main couple, but I feel like they're highlighted a lot was Leslie Odom Jr.'s character, James.
State Farm
Nicolette. Guy. He was in Hamilton.
Nah, he's State Farm.
He was in Hamilton, okay?
No, not State Farm, Nationwide.
It's Nationwide.
Yeah, Nationwide is on your side. That's what I know him from. Hamilton or whatever.
And his wife, Nicolette Robinson. So they're deciding whether or not they're going to have a second kid. And so her first thought was, nah, I'm not doing this again and just being in it by myself. Because there's so much pressure on moms. And I think that's something that's so relatable. And you can also see it appear in one of the other relationships, Paul and Sarah, which they are also married, where she threw her life into her kids, started working at her kids' school just so she could spend time with her kids. And it kind of pulled their relationship apart. So they got separated. There's that theme there that you lose yourself when you decide to become a mom. It kind of pulls you two apart.
I think it's on both though. I think it's more so for the mom, but you become someone's parents. You're no longer who you once were. You're so-and-so's parents now, and that's kind of how you're identified. I feel like it tends to hit women more because I feel, again, I don't want to generalize, but I feel like with us, you do more with our child than I do. I'm trying to be better with that. But I think it's so much more easier for you guys to do it in terms of it's just, you're seemingly, I don't know if you're built for it. I don't want to say something just not correct PC wise, but I feel like you're just better at it. Let's say that. You're better at it than I am. And so I think it's something that you're more willing to throw yourself into. And I'm kind of like, I don't know what to do. She doesn't want to do anything I tell her to do. So I just let her do what she wants to do. And that's not the way to parent, by the way. But I do think that it tends to hit the mothers a little bit harder than it does hit the men. But although it happens to both. But in fairness, from our early experiences, it definitely does tend to hit the moms harder.
Yeah, I think while you have before you have kids, you have like all of your different dreams and aspirations and what you do for yourself separate apart from your partner. Then when you have a kid, I feel like you tend to pour all of yourself into them.
Which you should in a lot of respects. I mean,
but then it's the whole thing of who am I without them? Because at some point they will leave somewhat. I always say it's a 25 to life sentence.
That's fair.
They leave somewhat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that take time for yourself, moms out there. And obviously as yourself and then as a couple. And while that is absolutely difficult to do, you need a village behind you to help with that. And if you don't naturally have one, you need to create one. Have a
Friends,
certain
family, whoever you can reach out to. I mean, if it's just the two of you, I mean, and that's the thing what's tough during these times. And a lot of respects, you don't want to go see the grandparents right now because it's not the best time, maybe, especially if you're in, certain states that are seeing a bit of a spike or whatever. Lean on friends, lean on, whoever you can in your family, lean on your partner if, you are with that person. I don't want to assume there's plenty of single parents out there, but, one thing that my wife has done a couple of days is she'll just say, hey, nope, you take her. I need an hour. And I'll be like, but and she's like, I need an hour. And it's like, okay, all right, we'll figure it out. We'll go do something. We'll go do a puzzle or, play with some toys or whatever, and give her that time to, just watch a show or just be by herself or have that me time, that her time. And then again, having, a grandmother who's a little bit younger, who, is obviously okay to come around, will say, hey, we just need, a couple hours, like take her, we're going to do this or do that. Even just watching a show. We are big fans of going to the movies on the couch. And so we will do that, have a little bit of time to ourselves. So it's definitely important to find that space away from just being a mom or just being a dad. Although it's probably the most important job you'll ever have, 100%. It's something that you're going to feel deeply connected to and obviously want to be the best at it you possibly can be. You need to have time to just be somebody else as well.
So we're both working parents. And one of I think Paul, he was saying that, his job brought him on the road a lot. So he was like, oh, you stopped cooking dinner. And she would say that there was no one home to cook dinner for anymore. And we get so caught up in all of the hustle bustle of life and we forget to connect. And we take a lot of it for granted. That, okay, we're just passing ships in the night. And it's so terrible because, if you think of all the people who have passed within the last few months.
It's not a promise.
It's not.
None of this time you could think you're not in the target or you're not in the higher risk population. One thing that's been confusing about a lot of how this has worked is that it doesn't necessarily matter. And just in general, besides, quarantine times, just in general, it's not promised to you. And I don't want to get biblical on anybody, but it's not promised to you, regardless of what you believe in and who you believe in. Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be right.
COVID. It can
nothing,
be anything.
Anything. So I think what's been good in some respects is this time has brought people to understand and realize, man, any moment, something can happen, right? Any moment, things can be taken. We are fragile beings by nature. We're strong, but we're so fragile. And there's so many things that come at you day to day. enjoy the time with each other, enjoy the time with your kids, enjoy the time with your spouse, significant other, whoever. Enjoy those times because you never know when you won't have them. You just don't know. So enjoy them while you have the time and chance to do so. Another interesting takeaway that we had from the Love in the Time of Corona, in particular the James and Sade couple, was the effect that the Ahmaud Arbery passing had on James. As a Black man, I think we've always recognized, and I've always recognized, the fear that we put in the hearts and minds of America for whatever reason. And I think being home and not having maybe the distractions and the hustle and bustle of everyday life to just get your mind off of it. I despise watching news stations, but I found myself watching them more now. And a lot of the recent murders, let's just call it, of Black men in some just horrific ways has been particularly just difficult and just hard to deal with. Because again, normally I wouldn't be watching. I would still be, again, I shouldn't say I wouldn't have cared normally, but it's ramped up a bit when your only real view into the outside world, because you're not going out, you're not doing as much stuff, you're kind of at home, and every day on the TV there's something happening, somebody being brutalized, somebody being murdered, and seemingly without cause. Is something that I can relate to in terms of just kind of not falling into, I want to say, sunken place, but you get to a bit of just despair, and I found myself being angry and just mad certain days and not really understanding why until
What's that quote by James Baldwin?
Oh, right. That's a good quote. So if you don't know James Baldwin, definitely read up on him. He said to be Negro in America is to be in a relative state of enraged or something along those lines. Essentially, to be Black in this country is to be enraged nearly all the time and not act. That's literally what he said it's like being. And I think that's never been truer than the last couple of weeks for me in particular, because it's just been one thing after another. So seeing James kind of fall into the sunken place and just feel, man, I don't want to, he started feeling like I don't want to bring a kid into this world because you have to, put so much armor around them to protect them. And just, I felt that deep in my soul, because that's how I feel with our daughter. Just, we're going to have to give you every bit of us, every bit of armor, every bit of love and prayer to keep you safe, because the world outside is vicious and it's unforgiving and it's scary when you can't even tell or explain to them. I mean, she's one. I can't even explain to her, hey, this is why it's like this. Just trust me when I tell you it's like this. It's scary. And I could see how he felt and why he felt the way he felt.
So Facebook has a wonderful thing of bringing up memories of things that you posted. And 4 years ago, I believe it's the anniversary of Trayvon Martin's death this August. And I posted that everything that's going on makes me fear of having like a Black son. Like, it makes me fear having kids. And I related so much to James' character. But then I had to think about it in a different way, that me having my daughter, me having kids, us being together is a form of protest. Us trying to provide the best education for
being
her,
successful,
ensuring that she can see different sides of the world is a form of protest. While it may not necessarily be us marching in the street, and don't get me wrong, nothing technically shields us. I mean, money doesn't shield us away from anything as far as who we truly are and how we're viewed in the world.
Yeah, it's real. Just being how we're viewed doesn't change no matter how much money we've had. I've walked into stores, and I've plenty of stories like this, but I walked into this was a couple years ago. I walked into a store, and this older white woman, and again, no shade in this older white woman, she felt how she felt, whatever. I'm walking into 7-Eleven and I'm walking there behind her. I see her. Now, mind you, it's like 6 p.m. in the summer, so it's still light outside. She clutches her purse. And I looked at it and I was like, did you clutch your purse? I'm like, and then she looked at me like, I can't believe he's talking to me. And was just like, oh my God. And I couldn't believe it because in my mind, not to be materialistic, but she clutched her purse and then you walked off to her car. She didn't walk into the store. She was so terrified. And I was confused because she walked to a car that was worth less than mine. I had on clothes that cost more than hers. I didn't even look like a threat. I was coming from work and I was dressed well. I collared shirt, tie, slacks. And I couldn't believe that she was so terrified of me looking business professional, business casual, however you want to call it. Like I'm going to rob you in the middle of the daytime or like early evening when it's daylight out still. I couldn't believe it. But that's, again, it doesn't matter how you are presented in some cases. If someone sees the color of your skin, they assume things. And that's the unfortunate reality of this country. Not to get in a soapbox, I'm going to get off right now. But that's real. And it's scary when you have to teach your daughter, hey, just because of the pigment in your skin, you may be looked at as a threat. Or you may not be valued because of it. And that's a big thing for women. They may not view you as a threat, but they're definitely not going to value you. And that's tough. That's a tough lesson to teach a child. And, going back to James's fear, it's tough sometimes to continue to put on that suit of armor and face the world and face the hatred that is waiting for you as soon as you step out your door.
So, like I was saying, we're raising her to be obviously the best that she is meant to be. And that in itself, I'm hoping starts to make a difference. And I think that that's one of the simplest things that we can all try and do. Is obviously starting at home.
Raise your kids up right. Protect and educate your family. If there's more of us that do the right thing, there'll just be more of us doing the right thing. That's all you can hope for, right? Continue to do the right things and let God take care of the rest, right?
Right. It's just like
that's it.
Now, in my former life, I wanted to be a gynecologist, but it's just like
get that gyno money.
It's just like how if you go to an African American doctor, your concerns are more likely to be taken serious as an African American woman if you're pregnant and you're going through, actually in anything, but especially if you're pregnant.
So the cure is more Black doctors. Raise up more doctors.
I mean, obviously, there's obviously bias training that can happen.
Right, of course. But have them do both.
Representation
bias training and representation. Absolutely.
And I mean, if she turns out to be a doctor, that's awesome.
Right. But I do think in the love in the time of Corona, love is always going to be somewhat difficult. It just is. It's a lot. It's asking for a lot. It's providing a lot. It's taking a lot. It's giving a lot. But this time of quarantine and social distancing has made it harder in some cases, but it can still be a great time. It can still be a time in which you connect. We are a lucky couple that we've been able to connect even more. Lucky that we've had jobs that allow us to work from home. So we're able to be home together, see our daughter more than we ever would have been able to see in her first year of life. She just turned 1 yesterday. So we've been able to really enjoy her, enjoy each other, and have the grandmas here to help out from time to time as well. Find that time for each other, regardless of what's going on outside. Because outside is crazy as shit. But as best you can, you and your significant other can, as best as you and your children can, find time for each other, embrace and love each other. Because again, It's not a promise. Tomorrow is not promise. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed. We'll get another video out to you soon. Again, our takeaway, loving each other, loving your kids. Make it work during this time. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. And in the comments below, if there's a topic you want to see us do, definitely shout it out and we'll make sure we get to it. So until next time, later.
Also, check it out. Check out Love in Time of Corona. It's pretty good. It's on Hulu.
Sorry.
Whatever.
Just saying.